All right, we are live. And make sure I'm loud and clear. All right, we're good. Well, hello everyone. Social media community, LinkedIn community, Facebook, and all of our partners. Thank you in advance for being here with us. I'm with a dear friend of mine, and you've all seen me speak with him before, but he's not just a friend; he's a business partner, Mr. John Ellis. And today is not a day that we're going to specifically focus around our partnership, which is around everything, which it's a big part, and we're excited about that. But this one is about something I've really been super excited to learn more about. And I don't know if you all have seen this industry icon talk about Agile Auto, and I'm sure you'll correct me if I'm pronouncing anything wrong, but I really wanted to get a better understanding and learn more about what John's been working on with this software. And I've seen so many good highlights. And then also for the Cage community is who this recording is for, because anytime that there's something valuable in the market that I feel that could help a dealer out, I want them to get their hands on. And there's no money ties to this or anything like that. That's not what John and I are about. This is really just about education, retail transformation for those dealers that are really looking to get that edge operational wise. And then as we go into this last quarter is really what this is about, because I feel like everybody's going to be a little bit strategic. So for right now and in the future. So I'll stop running my mouth now. I get all geeked and excited. So without further ado, John Ellis, how you doing?
Hey, buddy, I'm doing great. It's super exciting to be on with you. I mean, you're a legend in our industry. You're right. We've known each other forever. And as I've known you over the years, everywhere you've been, you've just been a trailblazer. So super excited about what we're doing at Bev Everything, but more importantly, individually, just what you're contributing to the industry. So excited to be here, buddy.
Thank you, John. We'll give us some insight. Talk to us, and if you could, just for the listeners, I always have to. People remind me of this. They're like, not everybody knows who you are. Sometimes, well, it's like, well, I'm hoping my clients at least know who I am, because this is mainly
Yeah.
what it's for.
Yeah.
But for my clients and the dealer partners and GMs who don't know who you are, just give them a little bit of background about yourself, and then catch us up to what Agile Auto is and how it's serving the storage right now.
Yeah, thanks for giving me that opportunity. So I've been in the automotive industry for over 20 years, 17 of those years with Cox Automotive in every area of the business that they owned or own now. Started as early as when it was just Auto Trader, and then merged into Manheim, and then we bought V Auto, and then we bought Kelly Blue Book, and then we bought Dealer Track, which encompassed Dealer.com and many other properties. So I was part of a lot of those acquisitions in the teams that were part of those acquisitions. So going into those business units and learning how they impact the dealer, what the data does and presents, how to integrate that into the Cox Automotive data family. I was what they call a product specialist or a director of product management later on. So those products were new to our company, and my job was to go learn them and then bring them back to our company and teach our sales folks and our sales leaders how that would impact our customers today. So bringing those solutions into our family and then introducing them to the market and our customer base. So that was a fortunate for me. I get to learn about the entire ecosystem from a vendor's perspective, touching every department in the dealership. Through that process, Cox Automotive sent me to NADA, so I was able to learn that part of the business as well, P&L, and the entire operational landscape of a dealer. Les Abrams was our instructor over those 2 years that it took to do that, because we did it a little differently than a dealer would do their NADA Academy, but it was an amazing experience and learning for me. And then I was also with Toyota, working in their fixed ops division for a couple of years. So not a store, but with Gulf States Toyota, the manufacturer, tiered manufacturer. So that brought a lot of experience. And so through that amazing journey in automotive, and then my background as an international trade and finance economist, COVID really sparked something within me saying, wait a minute,
Mm-hmm.
we can't do things the way we used to do anymore, and probably not ever again. Certainly not for the next decade, because I was in with Cox during the 2008, 2009, a lot earlier than that, but through that, we've seen the ups and downs and what an artificial catalyst in the market can do before, but not like COVID.
Mm-hmm.
COVID shut the world down for over a year, almost 2 years, especially the new car manufacturing part of the world. And that's going to have a ripple effect in our industry for years to come. According to Black Book, 2027, maybe 2028 will be the bottom of that negative impact. And then we'll start building back out of it after that to get back to 2019 used car levels. New cars kind of making a little early return, but it'll be probably 2025, late 2025, early 2026 before that gets back to 2019 levels, but not used car. And that's where the dealers really have an impact and where they can control their destiny. We're a little handcuffed with the new car side because manufacturers own that business. We're just their retailers. But used cars, we own every aspect of that business. So working with large dealer groups like Cochran and Rohrman and Napleton, and I understood how the COVID shutdowns impact their business. Even the single rooftops like Toothman Automotive, that's a 2 rooftop group, but some small ones like Kaiser Automotive. And I watched how they questioned what was next and what they thought traditional automotive KPIs could do for them, and preparing for the market shutdown risk, and then inevitably what the return to market would look like. And none of the KPIs helped us. I mean, some of them even gave us the wrong information. Dale Pollack would tell you today, one of his earliest statements was sell, sell, sell. And I disagreed. And he agrees later that I was right, because what happened was dealers that sold off when the market shut down had to repurchase that inventory when the market opened back up and the price was inflated to a point where that it was so negative. The negative gain on each inventory sold and then rebought, they couldn't make that up in PVR any day of the week. They had to just go sell through it. So the same thing with people, right? Furlough, furlough, furlough. And I was saying, do your best to furlough as little as possible, because when the market opens back up, it's going to be a Katie bar the door, just because of the fact that it was closed. So, stimulus helped, but it wasn't just the stimulus. And so I watched those ebbs and flows, and I worked with some largest dealer groups in North America to manage through them. And even in states like PA that was shut down for months. So even the extreme cases, and I said, you know what? This is not going to be easy. How can we build acumen and algorithms to help dealers think differently, manage differently, and hold themselves accountable to what we know works? And that's the birth of the Agile Auto. Now, it birthed early on into a small software solution that's been in market for 3.5 years now, called the Used Car Optimizer. And that's really the nucleus of Agile Auto. But Agile Auto's grown from that core fundamental, how to manage used car acquisition, retail, and disposal, to the entire variable side of a dealer operations. And so that was the genesis, really, was to say, if dealers rely on traditional automotive operational best practices and KPIs, it won't be enough.
Right.
It's good, but it's not enough for the new world that we live in. And what are the new KPIs, and how can we help dealers have them front and center without having to go find them? And then how can they manage their performance to them without having to go look, absorb data, hire big consulting firms, dig through pages and pages of reports? How do we give that to them in an instantaneous way? So every moment of the day they go, okay, I'm in balance, I'm in line, and I'm growing like I want to. And that's what we do at Agile Auto. A simplified dashboard, which we can show in a few minutes, makes it simple, super easy for them to manage their rooftop, their region, and their entire group.
Man, that's so good, because I love that you gave the backstory on that, because that explains so much, especially when we talk about what happened with the new car market, the used car market. And I definitely remember the sell, sell, sell. I remember that because dealers were so many were in panic mode. So I'm excited to see the software, for one, the solution that it provides, but also one thing that I'll add before John, shows the software, is that what I love about this is that it's also technology that is going to allow you to, it's either going to probably save you some time, but also allow you to be more efficient in speed and use speed in your decision making. And it's kind of like on my side with CRMs and AI and stuff like that, what I'll notice is that there's some great tools available out there, but we'll still sometimes do it the hard way, because that's how we've always done
it.
Yes. And so I want to encourage everybody as we look into this, let's go into it with open eyes and ears and minds. So then that way we can see, how can we use a tool better so that it can help us, be more efficient in other areas. Like, what can you do with the time savings, or what can you do by being more efficient? by having a tool like this. So I'm excited. So I'll go ahead and hand it over to you. So then that way you can.
Yeah, I'd love to expound on that just for a minute before we
Okay.
share. Agile Auto has no competitor in the market. We're not an inventory management solution and we're not a data management solution, but we do sit in the middle of those two, absorb all that data, and then reveal a dealer's operational model, how they're operating
Mhm.
today using all of that data ingested, benchmark against the industry KPIs, the nameplate KPIs, because Hyundai KPIs are different than Ford and different than Mitsubishi,
That's
right? And
good.
then, of course, against the dealer or the dealer group's KPIs, they also have their own. And we absorb all that during the onboarding process. So we're measuring very uniquely to each rooftop, but the group as a whole as well. And because of that, because there's no competitor, and because we don't fix anything, we reveal everything. We do just what you say. We help dealers focus on the most profitable areas of opportunity for success, pull back on the least profitable areas, but also catch any leakage quick and in a hurry so that they don't have expense waste. And all of that is in one goal in mind, is to get the dealer balanced and leveraged to go use their other tools like vAuto or VinQ or Auto Trader
Mhm.
or their dealer.com or their other platforms to execute. And we actually prescriptively point to the areas where they're most profitable in that execution strategy. So we love where we sit. We don't fix problems, we reveal them, but we also prescribe solutions, and the solutions bring in our vendor partners. We don't do that. The dealers already have them or they have their own relationships, but they use their vendor partners to execute and then watch our platform turn green as they maximize their vendor partners. So it's pretty exciting.
Yeah, no, that's awesome. All right, well let's get in.
Okay.
I'm trying to make sure because I'm seeing on your screen that you're going to share. Try it now. Let's see.
Yeah.
Let me do it here, and then do present again.
Okay. And then I'll present my screen. Uh,
Because I'm not seeing where it says present yet. So like last time when you hit
okay.
present, there we go. Now there we go. So let me do add to the stage. There we go. All right, we're good.
You have it all. You have it just like you want it.
Yes, this looks good.
Okay. Well, a lot of people haven't seen this. So you're looking at our main dashboard for Agile Auto. So first of all, what do you notice?
I mean, I like the simplicity. I like the dashboard.
Yeah, there's a lot of colors and dials, right? So we
Yes.
didn't want to give. There's a lot of BI tools, a lot of the vendors, a lot of DMS. There's reporting, and you can go in and do analytics, but that really is cumbersome. And then getting that analytics every hour of every day, you'd have to rerun reports over and over again. Well, we
Mm.
integrate to your systems and run those integrations every 2 hours. So this is fresh data all during the day. Now you're looking at our demo account and we're flushing into a new month, so everything's kind of zeroed out, but that's okay. We'll explain everything, and then if anybody wants to come and see a live demo with fresh data, we can certainly do that. But the good news is we make it as simple as possible to run your business every day. And the part about running your business that I want to enunciate is in other areas of your operations. This is non-disruptive to your business. We're not changing your CRM. We're not changing your IMS. We're not changing your DMS. You're using all your current tools to run business every day. We're just revealing how well you're using those tools and then how successful you can be by managing those tools a little better. So let's take a look at the first ratio. The first top of this is our own proprietary health score that we call the Agile ratio. And so the Agile ratio has many components to it. Um, I'll start with the middle, which we know is green. Lime green is a balanced dealership. And we give recommendations to the dealer of what it means, the areas they want to focus on the dashboard, and what their goals would be. And of course, if you're a balanced dealer, your goal is to grow.
Mhm.
And the dark green is a dealer that's in growth mode. They're going to be a little bit stretched. They're going to be over their skis a hair, but they're still balanced enough operationally. All the other areas like age of their inventory, like their monthly buy plan and how they're buying on a consistent, methodical basis, how they're managing their weekly buy goal to maximize their inventory inflows for their unit sales and their unit gross outflows to maximize that. All of that is in line, and their inventory, 51 here and optimal 6, because again, this is a demo account, would be pretty well aligned. They'd be like 51 units on a goal of 45. So they're a little over leveraged, but all their operations are so good, and they're receiving inventory from the best channels right here, auction, trade, and direct. So they're balanced. And then the revenue from these channels and their turn from these channels are so well in line with how they're performing and where they're getting the cars that it's okay for them to be in dark green, because that means I'm running well. Of course, I'm going to speed up my pace. And then if they get to a point where they speed up their pace and then they start moving into the red, well, that means we're over leveraged now. And then we start pointing to what that means, where to focus, and what your goal is. And your goal is to get back to green. And as we're driving a dealer forward with this solution, what we're trying to do is get them to lime green, whether they're in yellow or light. And I'll talk to those in a minute. We're trying to get them in lime green and then always push into dark green. And then as they push to dark green, if acumen becomes so well, they pull back to lime green. They balance in that new sales rate. So let's say they're 100, they push to lime green, they get to 125, but because they're pushed to 125, brings sales rate up, brings more trades in, brings fewer wholesale pieces, has their PVR starting to look a little better after a couple months, they pull back into the lime green, which means they have some more money and more opportunity to, again, push back into the dark green. And that's the balance you want right here. Every quarter, probably green to dark green, back to green, back to green. And if a dealer starts pushing too hard, we'll caution them and we'll get you right back. You'll know way ahead of time before you're in trouble that you're approaching the red. So I'm going to stop there before I go to the other side of the Agile ratio and ask if you have any questions.
Well, comments. I'm in love with I like the colors for one. That helps my brain. But I really enjoyed the source breakdown, because gets close into like when I'm consulting with clients. And one of the things that I'll hear about is like, we got to get more trades. We got to get more trades. And when you look in the CRM and Vend solutions or whatever CRM Drive or eLeads, any of those sources, it's sometimes can be difficult to get this kind of data. So then that way I can try to find out, how many, from the internet leads, are we getting those trades in, or are they coming from walk-in? Are they coming? And I think this is really unique, because if somebody doesn't have a goal of a source of how they want to break that down, especially for their profitability, this I think is a great tool to have, where you can just quickly get a good analysis of how you're doing. So, but this is really good. And I like the buy plan, and I'm a goal-oriented guy too. So to me, I think it's really important that there's direction, because not trying to be funny or make fun of any stores, but sometimes I do find that a lot of dealerships, we have goals just from a sales goal, right? It's like we want to sell X amount of units, but then there's not the micro goals that are set to get them to that big goal. So that's what I'm really loving so far.
Yeah, well, it's broken down just like that, Durran. The top line is overall operational acumen, which is the Agile ratio, with an inventory balance to market based on sales rate. So we know that the recommended current inventory levels and your inventory levels and their balance is always moving based on unit sales rate. So, but it also moves on a few other areas like gross and unit and then age, but very low weight there. The biggest weight is the unit. We want to make sure that you're balanced to kind of like your turn. But what happens is the second line is how you run your business. So your daily buy plan has a weekly goal. So we got to eat the elephant one bite at a time, which is your daily goal. But we also want to measure on a weekly basis, because look, the auction, it's hard out there. So you're not going to get your number every day. Sometimes you'll overperform and underperform, but we don't want to miss our weekly goal. And we measure to that right here. This thing will light up green if you're on pace. It'll light up red if you're not. And so we manage that so dealers can hold themselves accountable to what am I supposed to do every day, certainly every week. And if you match that goal, you're always going to be in your optimal level up here, because you're selling. This is moving with the amount of inventory you sold, adjusting over here for how much you need to go get to remake that. And the flip side of that is all of this accounts for how much you want to sell this month, your unit sales goal, plus ending the month with a 30-day supply of inventory to start your next month. Does that make sense?
Oh yeah, 100%.
Dealers have a hard time trying their best to outperform their monthly goal and remembering I still got to sell next month too. I got to have clean,
Yeah.
retailable, ready inventory for next month. And all of these algorithms take that into account. So as you buy here, and your monthly buy plan will be a little bit larger than your sales. And you're like, well, why am I buying more? Because you want a 30-day supply as you ground the inventory day one next month. And that keeps you on track. That's how you never get under leveraged to market and have to go panic buy or race to get enough inventory for next month.
I've been there. It's a nightmare.
It's a nightmare. Our dealers don't do that if they follow
It's
the
a
plan.
nightmare when that happens. You're like, oh no, business is slower. You make a decision based on where you're at now, not on where you're going to be. And when you make decisions like that, you will get punished. Because it's like you're not. So yeah, I love that.
Yeah, it's very intuitive. It's also machine learning, so the algorithm constantly checks itself and makes sure it's giving the proper recommendation, but also it checks itself against things like the onboarding KPIs that the dealer puts in. If they put, I'm a 45-day supply dealer, but the math's not working out, it'll adjust their day supply if they decide that they want these algorithms and machine learning to balance their KPIs to maximize their current operational speed. And then they can continue to tweak it as they go along. So it's really intuitive. It helps dealers figure out if the KPIs are actually benchmarked correctly over time. It takes about 120 days of learning for that to happen. But here's the second part. So we already talked about the unit goal of buying inventory. Now we want to talk about performance and sales. Our unit and our gross. Dealers will set their front and their back gross, and we'll measure how they're pacing to their total revenue goal. Because a lot of dealers want to know, hey, am I just making money on the back or am I making money on the front? And if any of these are out of balance, the first place they go look is over here. Probably if they're making all their money on the back and no money on the front, they're pretty heavy in auction.
Yep.
And trade and direct is lacking. And then most dealers based on stock code can go really deep in these areas, right? These say no key because it's a demo, but you could have ACV, Manheim, open lane. Stock codes can tell you if you want to get granular, where you're getting what and where, and why is that important? Macro channels are fine, but micro channels are really important when you're looking at turn, revenue, and volume. And so we can micro channel it over here, so you can see how ACV is doing with turn, how ACV is doing with volume, how much you're getting, and then how ACV is doing with your PVR, right? How much money am I making at ACV versus Manheim? And dealers really like that. So when you're managing your goal, certainly the first thing you want to look at is, do I have enough units? Second thing you want to look at is, am I making the money I want to make? And if I'm not, this is where you need to look. Am I imbalanced here? Because that's typically what happens is you're just bulk buying at the auction because you're not doing your plan correctly here, or you're not selling enough to get the trades you need, or your trade ratio is bad. And we do track trade ratio. I'll show you that in a minute, to see if they're trading for the right amount of cars, or if they're lacking there as well.
I like what you said about the acquisition and then comparing that to gross, because I think that's so important, because that is the main reason you would want to. It's like you're refreshing me back to the GSM days. Now I'm like, man, because all I'm thinking about is if I would have had something like this, because this stuff would have taken me hours to get this kind of data and then measure, the PVRs and the monthly revenue goals compared to what your actual sourcing strategy is. But you're right. If you're noticing that the front, because that's what happens a lot, our front starts dipping down because we're almost at a panic. We have to buy from auction, but there is no such thing as that you have to, because you could always lean into your data. You could always create a buying center. Like, there's so many different ways to make sure that you're getting your fair share and it's not too heavy on one side or the other, so I love that.
Yeah. Another thing too about the front is you always want to check. Front could have a lot to do with turn. So looking at your turn, and also front can have a lot to do with your aging. So how's my inventory aging? You're 0 to 30, you got 40 cars. You're 31 to 45, 0, and 46 plus, you got 11 vehicles. Well, what source of inventory is causing me that pain? So you can go down here and buy in the grid by price band, 0 to 15,000, 15 to 20. You can find what price band of cars is causing you so much pain and where they're coming from. So they're coming from auction, or they coming, I don't have any more than auction in here, but if trade and direct were full, and they are in the other live accounts, you could go really deep and see what acquisition source is causing me the most age problem. And you can go a little further and go, and which one is it? My SUVs? Is it my trucks? It's like, where am I heavy and where do I need? So, your trucks could be in a situation where they're heavy and they're aging and you go, hey, I need more trucks. So yeah, you may need more, but we need to get rid of the ones we have.
Yep.
So it's not just I need, it's what am I doing with what I have? Now you can get real granular in this in the auto, and that's what we suggest you do. This is just an area where to go. Initially, you just want to say, what is my overall health? How am I operating month to month? And if there's any anomalies in here, what area of the business do I need to pay attention to, right? And that really helps you. So go back to all because go back to all and all. Okay. So anyway, so now you can see it's full, but that gives you a lens into, okay, where do I need to go work? Okay, right here, you probably need to go into your V Auto and your, there's a report for your, age breakdown buckets and how you're doing there, price to market, cost to market, how your pricing strategy looks in these buckets. And then, of course, in your auction opportunity, you would want to look at how am I trading? How's my direct doing based on the goals I set? So dealers set their goals for each one of these. Typically, it's 30% auction, 35% trade, and 35% direct. They set that on onboarding. And if any of these are out of balance, it's red. So 21, if that was too heavy, it'd turn red. So you can immediately look and go, I'm over leveraged here. I'm under leveraged here. I need to start picking up trades. Where do I need to do? Let's get the team together and ask why we're so low on trades. What's the problem? And it really helps you figure out what's going on. So there's a lot of areas to really have general manager and GSM meetings in these conversations.
Random question here. Have you seen or part of your network seen anybody that has figured out to just do trade and direct, and they've kind of, and I'm not trying to auction people, I'm not trying to create that, but just from a standpoint, have you seen that where people have done trade and direct? But then the reason I'm bringing this question up is, do you look at that sometimes, or if somebody's doing that, is that a problem if somebody is heavy on just trade and direct and they're not looking at sourcing anything from auction to give them that mix to have some extra volume there?
Typically, our onboarding dealers that are operationally healthy and efficient, at least, and they have great processes, are in the area of 80 to 90% direct. Oh yeah. And or at least that's their goal. Problem is they're never in the dark green. Yeah. They stay in the light green, which means their sales rate never changes. So what happens is, and we've had dealers that come on board that have kind of seen, the complacency of being in light green and went out to auction to move in the dark green and are moving the needle. So some dealers that came on, I had one dealer that came on, dealer group, that came on, it's a 6-store group, came on at 99% is the goal. But 99% in trade direct and 1% in auction. Now he's 30% auction. He changed that because of what he learned in the software. Yeah, I'm doing great. I'm making all the PBR. Problem is I'm not moving the sales needle, right? I need to grow sales rate to grow trades and to grow directs. And how do I grow sales rate? Well, you can grow incrementally, a couple here, a couple there, do some advertising and get a few more buyers. But if you really want to grow sales rate, you need to have a diverse set of inventory. So a nameplate, you need to kind of go outside your nameplate a little bit. The auto teaches you that. And you need a few more pieces than you get from trade and direct. That allows a dealer to go and get into the dark green and grow their unit sales, which eventually will grow their revenue as well. May take a little bit of hit on front growth PVR, but departmental growth is always healthier with more units. The question is, how hard are you going to push before you get into red? And this manages that. So it shows you all along the way by the number you get here, how close you're getting to red. And if a dealer starts getting close to red, he just slows down his buying. Make sure he's buttoned up here, slows down his pace here in the wholesale, and everything goes back to where it wants to be. So it's really it gives them all the levers to pull.
That's freaking sweet. And that's where I was kind of thinking about that, because I feel like I would be the kind of dealer that would probably say, man, I'm doing 100% direct, 100% trade. I'm building my brand. And then I was just wondering, I'm like, but what could you possibly be missing out if you're trying to get to a certain place and the direct is almost, not saying that it's reaching a cap, but it could reach a point that where if your brand hasn't created that I call it like the CarMax or the Carvana effects, where the whole neighborhood doesn't realize what you're doing yet, then I could see it could get costly at some point, and so you probably need to have that kind of that mix that you just mentioned. So thank you for clarifying that.
Yeah,
That's
certainly.
good.
The last thing we have on this front page is we have market conditions of the dealer and of the market. So if you're growing 10%, the market's growing 20%, you're actually growing negative 10%. So you can't lie to yourself, right? Just because you're up 10%, you better be up over the market too. And so you could look at all new or used. This is powered by LotLink, so we get their market data, DML level data here, and the dealers compared against that in their zip code. Now, they can choose a competing DMA, maybe an adjacent DMA to see how they're doing because they sell well in another DMA. But at the end of the day, it defaults to theirs, and it just gives them their one-to-one comparison, so they can always know where they stand in the market. Because any kind of growth is market share over the market.
Wow, that's good.
And finally, we let you graph your KPIs, and dealers customize these. So if you want to see your average days to sell, right here, you can see that. If you want to see month over month your sales versus the inventory, or the optimal inventory and the inventory you have, they better be pretty darn close together. And if they're not, it means you're not performing well, right? So you can really benchmark yourself against month over month against what we're telling you, the software is telling you is a good place to be, and how you're performing to be in that good place, or if you're not performing to be in that good place. The other thing is you benchmark your agile ratio, and if your agile ratio is up and down and up and down and up and down, it means you're operationally inefficient. If your agile ratio is consistently around between 1 and 1.5, 1 to 1.5 to 1.75, which is the dark green middle, you're great. But if it's going down and then up and down and up, it means you're just wishy-washy in all of this. And so that's the point where you want to say, hey, I've got to get a better consistency in how I'm operating my dealership month after month. Who cares about the market? Because all of this takes the market into consideration. So if you're selling 100 units, 150 units, or 50 units, you can still be in the green and light green in the agile ratio. This is not how much you're selling. This is how well you're operating. Does that make sense?
Absolutely. I mean,
I would never buy a dealership without knowing their agile ratio over a year's period, because just because you're buying their P&L, you're also buying the people and the processes.
Say that again.
Yep. So yeah, I mean, Alan Haig's a good friend of mine. We haven't had a chance to sit down yet, but we've talked about this. His group does a lot of M&A. If I was an M&A person, I would want to buy a dealership that had this in place over one that didn't, just because that they're running a tight ship. Look, you can still make a lot of money and not run a tight ship. But if you run it, but if I buy the dealership that has a lot of money, a P&L's great, I still got to go in and manage the people problem or the process problem.
Yep.
Right. And most dealers can handle that. It's not a big deal, right? I mean, it happens every day. But wouldn't you like to know before you ink the deal?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So it's pretty exciting. The last thing I'll show you is we have an intuitive AI-driven. Am I acquiring well? Am I hitting my goals? How's my inventory level going? So you can build and analyze this, and select the questions you want to ask, and it'll highlight the areas of the dashboard, just like I showed you, of where you want to go look, right? Here and here for that item. So that allows you to really, and then finally, this fits most people's eye, but this is a very dynamic software. We built it from the ground up, very first letter to the very last letter. We own it. It's our code inside and out. Is you can edit this dashboard and move things around, right? So you can make it fit your eye, albeit we've kind of done it in the most intuitive way that works. But at the end of the day, if I'm a GM, I may want to have something in front of the other or whatever. Very customizable, almost also to the point where you can change the theme, right, to light and dark, right? So it's pretty cool.
Man, that is awesome. I love that part at the end, what you just showed. That's kind of what I'm saying. I mean, it's just the evolution of, that's not just a software. That's not just a tool. I mean, that's part of your business right there. And then the fact that it's got machine learning and AI built in right there that can make it easy for the people that aren't as technical. Like, you know what I mean? Like, it's really, to me, I think it's one of the most simple things I've ever seen, but very effective. And then you actually have control of it. I mean, that's really good, man. I love this.
Yeah, dealers can customize this to their rooftop. You think one size fits all. No way. And West Virginia is not the same as Dallas, Texas, and Mitsubishi is not the same as Honda. And these take all of that into account, the KPIs and the metrics against your performance. So you really know how to manage your business based on your nameplate, your market, and the dealer group you belong to, and what's important to them. It's really kind of cool. It takes a little bit to onboard because that's a lot to absorb. We are literally pioneering a space where we're peeling the onion back on every dealer or dealer group, and that's not an easy lift. That's probably why we're the only one in this space. There's nobody else in this space that does what we do this way, but it's not easy. Now, we've built customized parcel management systems to allow for that, but it still takes a while because we need to know the dealer inside and out to make sure that they're confident we know who they are and they're confident that this represents them and their goals and measures that performance correctly. It takes about 30, sometimes even 60 days to onboard, but once you're onboarded, I mean, it is your baby. You own it. It belongs to you. It reveals you, and you can't hide. You're naked in front of the mirror at all times, and that's really important, especially to group region managers, executive general managers, of course, and then group owners and presidents. I mean, literally, a group owner and a region manager can see all of their stores, and you can see that in the group comparison. All the stores would be listed here and measure them against each other and performance. This is a little sparse. We can do this at another time, but they can see their entire group in this dashboard. They can sum it up to the whole group and how the group is doing at one dashboard or each store. And imagine being a group leader, wanting to see how your entire group was performing at any given time, and then go dig into each store to see what stores are bolstering you up, and go here and see what stores are bolstering you down. Because the agile ratio would be red, green, orange, and those kind of things, right? So executive GM can, a region director and a group owner and executives can, it's like they live in the store. The store is not blind to them anymore. They see the store's performance at any time they want. Yeah, they don't have that capability right now. Not like this where it's updated every 2 hours. They can run reports and get BI tools and have their vendors print reports and send them some dashboards, but it's not them. It's not their DNA. That's what the 60-day onboarding, 30-day to 60-day onboarding process is. This is their DNA. They're going to get a scan of not as generalities to traditional benchmarked global KPIs. This is absolutely them and under their skin. And that's the important part of this market. You said it before we started. It is going to be so important for dealers to become uber efficient and surgical moving forward, more so than they've ever been. And then those that do will take market share and own their market no matter what the economy or political season brings. And that's what we're trying to help a dealer do. If COVID happens again, we built this to help dealers navigate and win in that market. And if the market turns and we're in a prosperous market again, we're going to build it. It is built for that as well. So it's really fun. We're excited. I'm sure you can tell I'm passionate about it. It's been my baby. It's been my idea for over almost 4 years now. It's like my child, right? I'm so excited to watch it grow.
Well, I think what John was saying right before that last part, because I agree. I mean, it's still the cool thing about great things like this is it's going to continue to evolve. Like it's only going to get better. But what I heard John say that some people say is stay ready so you don't have to get ready. And that's really what things like tools like this are. I got a buddy of mine named JT. He always says, Durran, when you create something, when you consult with stores, are you just selling them something or is it toothpaste? I was like, toothpaste? What does that mean? He says that it's something that they can use every day as part of their business. It's going to make them better, literally make them smile, and I said, that's good. And like what we just saw right there, that's toothpaste. Like that really, if I'm in a store, that's just part of my operational daily routine. If I'm a high level, executive, then I'm looking at that, but I'm wanting somebody maybe to even report that up to me as well. Like I'm looking at it and like, hey, did you see what I see? And then if I'm a used car manager, director, this is your toothpaste just every single day. And it doesn't look like anything you need to spend all day long on. It's almost like the stock, the money. You're just kind of glancing, you're looking and making sure that everything is A-okay. So I love this, John. This is great. So talk to us about if people want to get in connect, if they want to connect with you to learn more, ask questions, because I think, yes, the tool, everything's great, but I don't want us to discredit who John is first. And like you said, he built this. So this wasn't a tool that he found and consulted off of it. So there's so much more that even from just getting in his headspace as a thought leader and a chief economist, all these things that he's done, I would pick his brain in other areas as well if you're looking for that efficiency. So how would they connect with you, and what's the best way to do that, John?
Yeah, thanks, Durran. You can always email me at john at agileautoinc.com, or our parent company, john at the automotiveadvisorteam.com. That's where we do a lot of our consulting and economic industry analysis for many clients, consulting, boardroom meetings, 20 group meetings, those things. And then, of course, you can go to agileautoinc.com and click demo, and you can actually do a little miniature demo on your dealership. You can put in some of your KPIs, and it'll give you a quasi agile ratio, which is kind of fun. And then you can reach out and we'll do a full demo for you with live data that you didn't really get to see today, but we'll have that set up for that. So yeah, excited. Thank you for giving me the chance to introduce that and show that.
No, that's cool. And what we'll do is I'll have John. I'll just email me those email addresses. I'll make sure it's right, and then we'll include it in the community. All the contact info will be in there, and then if you're on YouTube, I'm sure it will be down in the description below to make it easy for y'all. So if you didn't get to write that down, so any last words or anything that you have for everyone?
Yeah, I'll just say this. I think we have a exciting second half of the year coming. I think there are levers that we need to pay careful attention to. One will be the August 14th Fed announcement. The next one will be our election, we know. And then both of those will have an impact on what used car vehicle values are going to do and what sales rates are going to do. And it doesn't matter. We're going to do well in either market, but you want to be prepared for whatever market's coming. So keep an eye on those. If you want some help, we've counseled hundreds of dealers in our consulting business. We consult on these things for dealer strategy preparation, not included our software, just to consulting side. We'd be glad to do that for you as well. But we think that the second half of the year is going to be really good. So we hope you're ready. And if you're thinking about other ways to get ready and want to talk, let us know.
Let's go. It is going to be great. It's going to be great for the people that are intentional with being great. Yeah,
so
those people that are dialed in right now. And that's what John and I were talking before even we got on here. I was like, man, it's really anytime the market either gets soft or whatever you want to call it, because I wouldn't say the market's soft, but when you hear disruption of dealers that aren't in the right position or their sales are down, it's a great market for the dealers that are super efficient. This is the time to have some fun and get better, to get ready for 2025, 2026, because we don't know what's going to happen, but we want to be prepared for it. So, John, thank you. This was great. I learned a lot. This is good. This is good. Good for me as I'm sure it was for the community. And until the next time we connect and John and I have a call like this, everyone, be well, have fun, and keep on selling. Thank you, John.
Thanks, Ren.
All right. So I'll to end record.